The Bible speaks about a certain inability of natural man to be able to come to God. The thing that's in the way is his sin and his rebellion. And so all classical or orthodox small o views of Christianity entail that God has to act in some way to mitigate the impact of his, in a sense, natural inability. And this next question has to do with the nature of that inability. The question is, what is your understanding of natural ability versus moral ability in respects to total depravity and man's ability to comply with the gospel command? Total depravity, it's a little bit of a misleading term, is a term that is used to describe the it's one aspect of the Reformed, also known as the Calvinistic position, that says that man is not only total, all areas of man's life and person are influenced by the fall. So the fall breaks man in the totality of the areas that he functions. His physical functioning, his mental functioning, the functioning of his will, all of these areas, emotions, relationships, etc. But that there is nothing that he can bring to the table that can commend him to God. But everything has been totally influenced, or what's the right word I'm looking for? Sullied, that's it. Sullied by the fall. It doesn't mean that he is as bad as he could be. And in light of that, then, what is the ability that man has if man is incapable of responding? Then now there's a question of fairness. And the distinction at this point has been made between natural ability and moral ability. And the natural ability is such that no man is kept by any exterior constraining influence or any physically interior constraining influence, if you will, from coming to Christ. He is not in a prison. He is not bound against his will. It's actually his will that's the problem, and this is where moral inability comes in. And the explanation is that though he is not, in a sense, constrained by any external factors, he is constrained by his own desires and his own wants and his own will. And since his will is twisted and his nature is in rebellion, the rebellion directs the will to reject God's authority over his life. So it is all in the area of the will, and the will is possessed by the individual, that the rejection is complete. It's not that they can't, on one characterization of the word can't, but they will not. And their willingness is not going to change unless their will changes, and their will isn't going to change under their fallen condition. They are doing exactly what they want to do, and they never will want otherwise, nor will they will otherwise in their fallen condition. And this is why God has to act. And on the Reformed view, God's actions are not halfway in this regard. He doesn't just aid and assist man to overcome for himself the negative influences of his fallen nature, but God actually comes in and repairs the will. So where the will is inclined towards rebellion, the will now is inclined towards submission. And then a will inclined towards rebellion will always choose rebellion, because that's the inclination of the will, the desire of the will. A will now influenced by God's Spirit to incline him towards submission will indeed submit. And therefore God can secure the salvation of some by working in their heart and drawing them and winning them in a way that ensures that they are going to choose, in an appropriate sense of that word, choose Jesus for salvation. So that's the characterization. I'm not at this point arguing one view over the other, but I'm just trying to, though I have an opinion about which one I think is more biblically accurate, I'm trying to give you a clear characterization of how these things work. Natural ability versus moral ability, and the characterization of those who believe in total depravity and man's inability isn't that he's naturally enabled, but that he's morally enabled. He's morally enabled because his will is fixed against God, in rebellion of God, such that he suppresses the truth in unrighteousness, Romans chapter 1. And that suppression will continue until his will changes, and the only thing that can change his will is an act of God.